So the first game that I'm going to be picking is Iowa at UCLA.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and take UCLA plus the points. UCLA plus 5.5. And here's the thing with this one. Iowa, good solid team. They finally have gotten more of a balanced offense. They're starting to throw the ball. They've played well recently. UCLA at the beginning of the season, really bad, total rebuild, but they've been trending up. And so it's kind of, this is a hard game to judge. I'll be honest, I'm not going to put any of my own money on this game because where are we catching UCLA? I mean, they're on that uptrend. If this game was in the first 3 weeks of the season, I've been picking Iowa to win by double digits.
Yeah.
But I think, how much UCLA has been improving. It's at home. Iowa's traveling across the country. I'm just going to go ahead and take UCLA plus the points, plus 5.5, because I think they can keep it, possibly win the game outright, but at least keep it close.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and take UCLA plus the points, but as my official pick. But I don't know if I'm actually going to put any of my own money on this one.
I get it. With as good as UCLA has been playing here recently, I appreciate you taking the points because you don't know exactly which way it's going to go, and you're getting over that field goal. And I think that is the safe pick, but I also understand why you're maybe staying away from it because you're not 100% sure. How good is UCLA actually becoming here this year? They've really kind of turned things around from early in the season. And I know we've got Ralph. He says hello. Big Mama's here. I know Michael had put some comments. I put out a what do you do that community thing earlier, just reminding people it was tonight. He said he'll be watching us from the park. I think he's in Nevada. And he's the one that has always corrected me. I now know how to say the word Nevada. So shout out to him. I say Nevada correctly. Thanks to one of our original Mountain Dwellers. He was on us last season when we were doing these picks. So
Surf City Bill is here.
Surf City Bill changed his name.
Yeah. What was it before? Bill?
I think just Bill.
Just Bill, yeah.
But he's Surf City Bill now, and he thinks that UCLA is the right choice on this one. So
yeah, it just taking those points. I love those. And like you said, over a field goal.
Yeah.
I'm just taking the points. I like
Okay. All right.
Okay. So moving right along, the next game kind of similar, but in a totally different way. Purdue at Ohio State. I'm going to go ahead and I'm taking Ohio State to cover the 37.5.
Okay.
But I'm definitely not locking this game, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to put any of my own money on it.
Okay.
Because the line is just so high.
It's high.
So my official pick is for them to cover those points. However, the number of points makes me nervous, mostly because, Ohio State just came off of a very physical game against Penn State, one of the biggest games of the year. They have a couple more big games to play.
Yeah.
They have Indiana coming up not too long. They have, obviously, that game of Michigan at the end of the year. And they're on track right now to basically, they just need to win out. They don't need any more. We're going to talk about the college football playoff standings later, but they don't really necessarily need any more style points. They just need to win these games to get to that Big Ten championship game. Right. So I could see Ohio State taking their foot off the gas maybe late in the game, because they could beat Purdue by 100 if they really wanted to.
Yes.
But I could see them taking their foot off the gas a little bit late in the game, and Purdue maybe getting some points in garbage time, whatever. So the line, I think it's just, they probably do beat them by about 37 points, but when do they take their foot off the gas, and how many points can Purdue get in garbage time? So I'm taking it. It's my official pick, but I don't know if I'm putting any of my own money on it.
But I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong here, and viewers can correct me, and you can correct me, I feel like OSU does not do well, both this year and last year, recent history. They don't do well against large spreads. They're not a team that's gonna push, kind of like Oregon. I mean, Oregon used to they'd go balls to the wall and score 80 points. They didn't really care. Ohio State doesn't seem like they've been that team much. It's not something they necessarily have to do. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Definitely in comparison to Oregon. Yeah. And I think, too, a big thing with Ohio State is they wanted to have, this year in particular, a more physical style of play.
Yeah.
They wanted to match what Michigan had done the last couple of years. And just be so that lends itself to, we're not just going to throw 80-yard bombs.
Right.
We're going to try and dominate someone, which just takes down the clock faster. Takes more air out of the ball. So yeah, I'm with you on that. They're not looking for those style points. They haven't all year as much as an Oregon has. So I'm taking them because they should beat Ohio State by that. So it's my official pick.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I'm putting any money on it.
Understood. Okay. let's get to pick 3 in the Big Ten.
Okay. So pick 3, Minnesota at Rutgers. I'm going to go ahead and take Minnesota to cover the 6.5 points, and I'm making it our first Big Mountain ice cold lock. This game, this is kind of funny. I was down on Minnesota early, and I was a little slow on catching I like to say the worm, when the worm is going to turn.
Yes.
I was a little slow on catching the worm turning. Well, I'm on it now. They found a quarterback. They have an offense that's going. They've won some tough games. And Rutgers, kind of the opposite. Rutgers started so well, started on fire. They were looking great. They've had so many injuries. They are coming off of a bye.
Yeah.
However, injuries on the offensive line, key injuries on defense, and which has caused them, with their offensive line injuries, they're already one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And they can't be as dominant in the run game as they want. And just the way Minnesota is trending versus Rutgers, I like Minnesota to win this game by 10 points. So I feel really good about locking them, especially it's under a touchdown. So if you can get it 6.5, I feel really good about locking Mini to cover the 6.5.
Absolutely. You got one team playing some really good football right now and another team on the ropes. And the fact that it's under the touchdown, Big Mama, in all caps, loves that big lock. And I agree. I love it too.
And this was, I kind of teased you. I was going to tease
you
the
always
show.
tease me.
Yeah, that I was going to lock someone that I had not locked this week. And you guessed it. You were right, Minnesota. So next game, moving right along.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for reminding me.
You were right.
Okay.
You got it right away.
Okay.
So Michigan at Indiana. Indiana hosting Big Blue here. I'm taking Indiana to cover the 13.5 points, and I'm making this my second Big Mountain ice cold lock. The way Indiana has been trending, we've been on this train all year. Kurt Cignetti does not care about anyone's feelings. He wants to run up the score. He wants to make a statement. He made big statements before they even started playing this year and said, Purdue sucks, Ohio State sucks, Michigan sucks, we're going to beat all of them. And it sounded like big words, but they've shown so far, I think they're 9-0.
Did he literally say they suck?
He did. He said, and Michigan sucks, and so does Ohio State. Yeah. I mean, the dude came out firing, and he's backed everything up. So, I think, he wants to send a message, and he's going to have a message to prove, to back up that big talk. And they've been doing it all season. They have never taken their foot off the gas. Even this last week, they were close to covering. They went down and scored again towards the end of the game. They've done that all season. He wants to make a statement. Again, we're going to talk about the new college football playoff rankings. I'm sure at 9-0, he's probably using that as a team, get with his team. Hey, they don't respect us. Let's go out. He says, hey, we just want to win the games. But I'm sure he's using that as motivation, wants to make a statement. Yeah. And just beyond the motivation factor, Indiana has showed themselves to be just a complete team time and again. Great offense.
Absolutely.
Very good defense. And their offense is balanced. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. We thought maybe their one weakness on defense was against the running game.
Yeah.
But they have really locked that down. Really good linebacker play. They don't have the horses up front. The D line that Michigan has. I mean, Michigan has probably 2 first-round draft pick defensive tackles. Indiana doesn't have that, but their linebacker play has been amazing. I think I forget who they played this last week, but they held them to, with sacks included, like negative 20 rushing yards. Yeah. So I have not seen a weakness yet in this team. And Michigan is the exact opposite. Obviously, Michigan has a lot of talent, but it's so unbalanced.
Yes.
Their offense, they did finally find a little bit of a passing game, but it's not anything that I think is going to be dangerous to Indiana. And they have a run game, but I think Indiana will be able to hold it down. And I just don't think Michigan's defense is still good, but a really balanced Indiana offense, I think, is going to be able to move the ball down the field on them. Because Indiana is better team than Illinois, and Illinois was really able to move it and was able to move the ball and just basically control Michigan. I think Indiana will be able to do the same thing, but Indiana has so much more offense, more firepower, and they're willing to put that pedal to the metal and keep scoring. So I love them. I think they win by 20 points, 3 touchdowns or more.
Yeah, well, you said it there at the end. Just the offense is they're gonna roll. And I know Michigan has the decent, well, better than decent, a very good defense.
Yeah.
There's nothing that makes me believe that they don't win by 2 touchdowns, as you said, maybe 3 or more. And I think Indy, this is their, people say they have an easier schedule, their strength of schedule, and yeah, Michigan's down here a little bit. But I'll tell you what, you want to make a statement game. This is it. And they have more coming up, but this is a massive game to make a statement. And they're home. I think it was Washington that they played. Is that you talking about Indiana? That
yes.
They played?
Yeah.
Did they just play Washington for the big noon? That was 2 weeks ago. That was 2 weeks ago.
Last week I was in I was in Penn State and Happy Valley, and
it's a little hazy.
Yes.
So yeah, I do want to just mention. I know we're getting some new peeps. We're going to go through the rest of the Big Ten. Steve's through 4. He has 2 ice cold locks so far. We'll get to the Mountain West next, and then we do want to talk college football playoffs. We've got that college football guy on. I know him and Surf City Bill are having at some of the names here, which is funny.
Bill and Bill.
But Bill, that college football guy, says he likes to pick here with Indiana. Michigan just not on Indiana's level right now. Historically, that is an interesting statement.
Yeah, it's crazy to say.
Yes,
yeah.
But it's exactly right. Just
right.
not on their level right now. So. All right, let's go to number 5 here in the Big Ten.
Okay. All right. So my 5th game is Maryland at Oregon, and I'm taking Oregon to cover the 23.5, and I'm making it a Big Mountain ice cold lock. I'm surprised at the line. Maryland, they've improved. They're a little bit better than I expect them to be. But they have to travel across the country to Autzen Stadium, which I think is one of the hardest places to play. Top 2 or 3 in the Big Ten. And Oregon is just a rolling monster right now. Honestly, Oregon is Indiana with more talent.
Yeah.
They just have they're putting the pedal to the metal. Do you know Dan Lanning this last week? I saw a video. They went in the Big House and beat Michigan. Mm-hmm. Dan Lanning, towards the end of the game, took a timeout at the end of the game so that he and his players could look around in the Big House and see the fans streaming out with depressed looks on their faces. The dude wants to go and take your heart out. Yeah. His team wants to do that. They have not. There was a couple times I picked against them, maybe once or twice to pick against them, covering these big spreads. And I was wrong because they just want to score. They want to kill people. They want to make a statement. Yep. And they're the number 1 team in the country. They keep making that case every single week. I don't see them letting up. I don't think Maryland has anywhere near the horses to run with them. Yeah. Going to be difficult playing in that environment. And Oregon's they're not, where I said earlier, I think Ohio State will take their foot off the gas at some point. It's just a matter of when. Oregon's not going to take their foot off the gas. They will try and score all the way to the end. So I love them. I like Oregon by 30 points. So, it was not easy. It was not hard at all for me to lock the 23.5, especially being under that 24 mark.
Right, for sure. Yeah. Well, there's 3 in a row. Steve does that. I'll tell you, when he gets on his locks, you just like the boom, boom, boom. You go for him.
Knock him out.
And our producers all over it. We've got some scores because we got college football happening. I know there's an NFL game, but we don't do NFL here. We do college football. So you can see those scores at the bottom. We appreciate him for getting those up. We've got Coastal Carolina up by 2 touchdowns on Appy State. I'm really surprised by Appy State this year. They're just not the Appy State I thought they'd be, and just kind of like a 500-ish team. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But we don't follow that conference.
What's the other game?
The other game is what is that? East Carolina.
Yeah.
Up big, 3 touchdowns over Florida Atlantic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That is Florida Atlantic. I can't read it, but I'm pretty sure that's Florida Atlantic. If I remember correctly.
Old 40-year-old plus eyes.
It's not good, Steve. It's not good. I need new contacts is what I need.
You made a good point there. Thank you to our producer. We had some technical difficulties at the beginning. It was not his fault. We had some computer issues, and so we were up a little late, but he got everything up. He's putting those scores up, and that was kind of a last-minute request, so we appreciate it.
He's kicking butt.
PWB Productions. He's awesome. And so should I move on to the next game?
Yeah, where are we going? Oh, look who we're going to.
I will be at this game, Washington at Penn State. I'll be in Happy Valley for the whiteout. I'm taking Penn State to cover the 13.5. I'm nowhere near confident enough to lock it. I see Penn State winning this game somewhere between 10 and 14 points, by 2 scores. I think Penn State's just the better team. Washington's playing well. They're on a nice uptrend.
Yes.
They have to come across the country. We've talked about how difficult that is. Playing in that whiteout environment, which is a terrible, tough place to play at night in that environment. And I think Penn State's just the better team. Penn State was looking, and they've been really good the last 3 or 4 years after a tough loss to Ohio State or Michigan, coming out the next week and making that statement to let everybody know that they are They're still in it to win it.
Yeah.
And as we talk about later with the college football playoffs, they still have a ton to play for.
Yep.
I think they're going to want to make a statement here. Again, not comfortable enough to lock it, but I feel pretty good taking Penn State to cover the 13.5. If it was, I would have locked it like 9.5. I would have locked it because I think I really think in that 10 to 14 point window right there is what Penn State wins.
Okay, so if people are looking for alt spreads or if you're looking for teasers, maybe you add Penn State to that teaser and you take that 3.5, 4.5 points off of it. I know you don't like teasers. You say they're sucker bets, but I like to throw some out because they're fun.
So generally, yes, I do say any of those are the casinos want you to do those. However, if you're like with our locks and if you have a good track record and you can tease a couple of those, make them even a little bit better,
Right.
I got no problem with it. Parlay it. And if you're on FanDuel, so my buddy Nick out there, we've been texting. What he's been doing is taking our locks, 3 or 4 of our locks, and putting them into a round robin on FanDuel. Which I think you have to win like 3 out of 4 or 2,
It
something
depends
like
on how many you have.
Yeah. And he's made good money with that because he said if we get 3 out of 4 right, he makes some good money. If we get them all right, he makes a lot of money.
Right.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's another way to do it.
I've started doing some round robins. It's the first time I've ever done it for the last couple weeks.
It's fun.
It is interesting. It keeps you in the game longer.
Yeah.
You can have a loss, you can miss a game, but you're still doing okay. And they're different. And we do this for fun.
Yeah.
I think.
So Big Mama says they love the scores at the bottom. I agree. Again, PWB Productions is awesome. So we appreciate that. So one last game. Got to pick my Step Knowles. Got to pick their game. I've been picking the Step Knowles, thinking they were going to get the worm to turn.
Nope.
And here's the thing. They've been playing some teams that on paper, they were better than. They did beat Cal, but then there were some other games where they should have beat those other teams, but ridiculous, crazy, just like weird things happening to them this year. It's obviously just not their year.
Yeah.
This time they are playing a team that is markedly better than them on paper, on their roster, a Notre Dame team that's playing really well. So I'm taking Notre Dame to cover the 25.5. Just think Notre Dame's, they're a better team. They're playing better, way better now than they were early in the season when they lost to Northern Illinois. Mm-hmm. And Florida State's playing just as badly as they basically have all season.
Yeah.
So I like Notre Dame here. I'm not locking it. Maybe just because the point spread is so high. Like if it was 20.5, I might lock it. But I like Notre Dame to win this by 3 scores or more. So I'm taking them to cover the 25.5.
Okay. I was stunned when I saw that you were not taking Florida State because you were trying to ride that. And if anybody saw us last week, you kept betting red and it's still coming up black. And I hope it doesn't turn for you because you've been betting that turn. And it hasn't come.
You know what? I don't know that I'm actually going to put any of my own money on this.
I sure as hell wouldn't.
So either way, maybe me picking against Florida State. Maybe our Knowles fans will be happy that maybe this will be what is their motivation to actually go out there and play some good football and win the game. And Big Mama, Big Mama knows you. JY loves FSU.
It's not that I dislike FSU. I just struggle to understand why you continually were picking them. And I know you're reminding me you didn't always pick them, but you picked them a lot, especially over the last few weeks when I'm going, no. It has nothing to do with me liking, loving, hating FSU. Yeah. It's Steve's picks of FSU that I was struggling with.
So I'll remind you again, I did pick against them once or twice.
I know.
And then I did pick them against Cal, and they beat Cal straight up.
Okay.
But then, and then I rode them for 2 or 3 weeks thinking, and it didn't work out. No. So I'm going the other way.
All right. You're going to black when it's coming up black. At least that's my analogy. All right. Are we ready to go to the Mountain West? We're going to get through the Mountain West here. I got 6 games. After the Mountain West and the PAC-12, but the Mountain West is playing the PAC-12, so it's kind of irrelevant. We're going to get to the college football playoffs because we got some things to talk about, and I'd like to hear what some of our viewers have to say.
I'm excited.
All right, let's get to the first Mountain West game. We have New Mexico versus San Diego State. I am going to take the points with the Lobos. One of the reasons why I wore my Lobo shirt, because I'm picking the Lobos. But I'm taking the points here with the Lobos plus 2.5. This is the Friday night game, so tomorrow night is this game, and I think it will be a close game. I'm just going to put my money on New Mexico's offense here a little bit more. And San Diego State, they did well against Washington State, so I could understand people wanting to pick San Diego State with as close as this is. But I'm just going to take the Lobos. I think they have a good trajectory going right now. I struggle to figure out San Diego State's offense. And Danny O'Neal, he got banged up here a couple weeks ago. He got banged up again in the last game. He's definitely not 100% right now. I don't think I'm going to bet this game. Yeah. No, I'm not going to bet this game, but I am going to take the Lobos plus 2.5.
Do you is this one where you may take a look at the money line, or are you just going to totally stay away from it?
I'm going to stay away from it. I don't necessarily trust either team right now. But, with the offense that UNM has, as long as Dampier does not turn the ball over too much, they should be just fine. So that's where I'm at with that game. Okay. So let's get to our Saturday games. Next one, San Jose State versus Oregon State. And I struggled with this one. Another one I am staying away from because I just don't understand what's going on in San Jose State. But I am going to take the 2.5 points with the Spartans. They are coming off a bye week. I'm hoping that the daggone offensive coordinator will have his stuff together and, they're going to score points like they were at the beginning of the season. We know the Beavs have been having some issues with some of their injuries. They've had a lot of injury issues here, and they're coming off a bye as well, so both teams coming off byes. It is up in Oregon State. So again, not a spread I really like. Again, money line, I'm probably staying away from this. We're committed to picking all the Big Ten Mountain West games, so that's why I'm picking this. But I'm coming out of the box here, Steve, just not real confident in either of these. But I'm taking the points with the Spartans.
This is one of those weird games where the Spartans, they had that Nash and Gash offense going, and then the coaches kind of messed with the quarterback situation. I think ruined it. And then you have a Oregon State team, the Beavs, where when their quarterback is playing well, when he's healthy, he's playing well. The dude can put up some points, but man, oh man, when he's not playing well or makes some mistakes, it's pick sixes the other way
for sure.
So there's so much volatility there.
There's a lot of volatility, yeah. And honestly, that's both of these first two games. There's just a lot of volatility, and I get Bill saying. That college football guy, he's saying, I don't trust New Mexico's defense. I somewhat trust San Diego's defense. I totally understand that, and I get that. But I'm just going to take the points with the underdogs here, thinking these are going to be somewhat close games, and maybe if they are, they can still lose, and we still, I still win my pick.
If I could say real quick.
Did you see Spence's comment?
Yeah, so first he was amazed that I was not picking FSU.
Yes.
But yes, he's talking about, so the team total, I don't bet a lot of team total stuff. Sometimes I'll do a first half, but he said the team total for Florida State is, for the entire game, is 8 points. And they need to score 8 points or they should just fold the entire program. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, their offense is so dysfunctional.
It is.
And Notre Dame, A, has a really good defense, but B, the way they've been playing offense, they've been scoring points, but in a way where they're also controlling the game, kind of ball control, possession. So I could see, them just taking the ball out of Florida State's hands, and it's going to be tough. I agree. Florida State should be able to score 8 points. Get into the double digits, but I don't see him scoring much more than that.
Sure, right. Well, we got some love coming out here for Army's line. I don't know what Army's line is this week, but info on your slide. What did I do? I have wrong info on my slide. What did I do? Oh, I made a boo-boo. Anyway, that's San Jose State. I was taking plus 2.5 with San Jose State.
Okay.
I must have made an issue with my slide. Anyway, what were we saying? Oh, Army. I don't know what the line is with Army. Somebody throw that out there, and also throw out there if the starting quarterback is going to be playing.
Yeah, that is
huge. You got to know that. And we don't follow Army
that's
other than when they play Air Force.
That's the biggest factor. Big Mom is saying they're taking the Army line and locking it. I mean, I get it, but what happens if that week they take the line out, or they take the quarterback out?
Yes.
The slide info. At Army minus 22.
I'm sorry, guys. So okay, we got that. Army. I didn't correct the wording.
Gotcha.
That's a JY boo-boo.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, I need another beer.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully the next one's right. The next one might be wrong too. It probably is wrong. The graphic will be right, but the line's probably wrong because I was in a hurry and I probably screwed this one up. I may have screwed up all of these. So listen to what JY says, not what the slide says. Nevada versus Boise State. I am taking Boise State minus 24.5. This is moved.
Yes.
To the flagship Fox network.
Yep.
It is going to be prime time, and Boise's going to roll. And I'm locking them with a Big Mountain ice cold lock.
Very nice.
So, 24.5.
Yep.
Boise, the dub. I just, you saw what they did last week. They just made a mess of San Diego State. I said in our information afterwards, our recap, that it wasn't even as close as what it said. What was it, 32 points or something like that?
Yep.
And, I said I kind of feel bad for Nevada because Boise is going to put on a show. They're going to score gobs of points. They're going to want Genty just going off for his Heisman campaign. So I am all over Boise here, minus 24.5. And I'm anxious that this game's on the flagship Fox. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. Great opportunity for Boise. Great opportunity for Genty for Heisman.
Yes.
Just great for them. I'm sorry I'm going to miss it because I'm going to be watching the Penn State game live in the stadium. But again, great opportunity for them. And we're going to talk about Boise a little bit later when we talk about the college football playoff and what this game can mean to them.
Yes. So I got that slide right, Steve.
All right.
Isn't that freaking amazing?
Yes.
All right, let's get to the next one. UNLV versus Hawaii. UNLV traveling to the islands of Hawaii. And I am taking UNLV minus 12.5. And I struggle here because Hawaii has played really well.
Producer shaking his head.
Oh, did I screw it up again? Producer? Just give me a thumbs down. Anyway, I am taking UNLV minus 12.5. And we may not have a slide, but it's UNLV versus Hawaii minus 12.5. And like I was saying, this is they're going to the islands. Both teams are playing well. I like UNLV to cover this. It's always a struggle when you're traveling to Hawaii. Hawaii has come off 2 really good wins. They've kind of righted the ship, and they could end up the season really strong here. And 12.5 that's a sizable line. Do you like UNLV to win by 2 touchdowns? Yeah, I do. But I'm far from a lock on that because just Hawaii has looked much, much better here recently. And that travel to Hawaii always scares me for any team. So that's why I'm not going to lock it. But you got to go with UNLV. They still have aspirations of going to the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
The only way they do that is to win out, to get into the Mountain West Championship game, and hopefully see Boise again, and then, possibly beat them.
Still a possibility. And you have to think, yes, that possibility is still open. And you have to think beyond that, UNLV has to have a lot of motivation. They have to be very motivated to want to get back with that close loss to Boise, to get back into the Mountain West Championship game and win it. Whether or not they make the playoff, that would be huge for the program, huge for momentum going into next year.
Yeah, and Bill says, can Nevada score 10 points? I don't know. I mean, certainly, I think they probably can score 10 points. But I think Boise's they're just going to be racking up the offense big time in this game. And then he says UNLV will be playing mad. Absolutely, they're coming off a bye as well. And yes, they're going to be playing mad. And that's why I'm taking them. But as I said, that travel is the first time Coach Odom is traveling to the islands here. So we'll see how they do. But I do like UNLV there to come out with the dub. Let's go to Fresno State, who's been struggling a bit. But guess who they get to play? Air Force.
Oh, that's a good medicine.
That's good medicine for a struggling team. Sorry to any of our Falcon fans, but the line here only 10.5. And, you say, well, only's not that bad. Fresno State's not looking very good right now. Air Force can't score.
Yeah.
They just can't. I've been saying it for I don't know how many flipping weeks. Fresno State still has a strong defense. And, Mikey Keene is still very serviceable. I don't see how they don't easily cover this spread. So easily, I am making this my second Big Mountain ice cold lock. Fresno State minus 10.5. And, I say I'm not going to lock against Air Force every week, but I think I've been locking against Air Force. Now, I didn't get it last week, but that was,
a weird thing happened.
Kind of the weird thing with the quarterback. That was the slide that was up, that 22.5. That was from last week. And, I have issues with copying and pasting.
Yes.
That's why that was up there. But, yeah, they didn't cover that. I think it was 20 points with a backup quarterback for Army. But, man, Fresno State here, I love this lock. I think they roll against Air Force.
Well, Steven just joined us. He's a little bit late. You didn't miss too much. Well, you missed a lot, but you weren't too late because we were late. We had some technical difficulty. We got on late. I'll just go through real quick for Steven's part. I locked Mini to cover 7 or 6.5 at Rutgers. I locked Indiana to cover 13.5. Hosting Michigan. I locked Oregon to cover 23.5. Hosting Maryland, and JY's about halfway through his picks. You had some locks as well.
I locked Boise State minus 24.5, and just now Fresno State at minus 10.5. So Big Mountain's got 5 ice cold locks for you guys this week, and I have one more pick. That is Utah State versus Washington State. Squeezed money's Washington State, and the line here 20.5. A little big for me, but I am going to take the Cougs covering the 21.5. As I've kept saying, Utah State does not have a defense, but they do have an offense, and Washington State's defense isn't anything to write home about. So this is going to be a high-scoring game. The over-under here, Steve, is 69.5. And if you remember a few weeks ago when we talked about the Lobos playing Utah State, that was at, I think it was 69.5 or 70.5 or something, and I said, we were like, over. Yes. And they were over by, I don't know, I think it's 80-some points in that game. I think this could be the same thing. If you want an over-under pick, I'm not making it an official pick. I don't have a slide for it. But I like the over 69.5 here because these offenses are going to go off yet again.
And I think even some of our mountain dwellers called you a little nuts when you picked that over because it was such a crazy number, but they hit it and they busted it.
And this could happen again. Washington State, Utah State will be a very high-scoring game. But Washington State's defense is better than Utah State's defense. I'm not going to lock this because they got to cover 3 touchdowns. That's a lot of points. But they are the better team, obviously. They're a one-loss team. Utah State struggling here, specifically on the defensive side. So I'm taking the Cougs. And again, if you guys want those over-unders, I know you say, JY, you're kind of crazy, taking an over 69.5. I would not hesitate taking the over 69.5 on this game. So those are our picks.